Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Times to Bhagavad Paramahansa Bhagavadgita Astotra to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Bhagavadgita Acharya Astotra to Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the second day of March 2016 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are still in the chapter entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature. It's chapter 14, text number 26. Mang cha yoga vicharena bhakti yogena sevate Sagunan samati chaitan Brahma bhuyaya kalpate Manchayo gabicharena Bhakti yogena sevate Sagunan samati chaitan Brahma bhuyaya kalpate Manchayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samati Jaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate Manchayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samati Jaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Go ahead, David. Manchayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunan Samati Jaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Manchayo Vyabhicharena Yogena Sevate Samatitjaitan. Yeah, start the line again. Sagunan Samatitjaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
Shall you try without looking?
Go ahead.
Yeah, practice. Mamcha yog vyabhicharena.
Mancha yoga vicharena.
Bhakti yogena sevate.
Bhakti yogena sevate.
Sagunan samtitaitan.
Sagunan samatityaitam.
Brahmbhuyaya kalpate.
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. You do it better than when you look. That's your practice. Go ahead, Marcy.
Mamchayo Vyabhicharena.
Manchayo Vyabhicharena.
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Sagunan
Sagunan
Samatichanya.
Samatityaitam.
Brahma Bhuyaya
Brahma Bhuyaya
Kalpate.
Kalpate.
Mamchayo Vyabhicharena.
Manchayo Vyabhicharena.
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Sagunan
Sagunan
Samatichanya.
Samatityaitam.
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate.
Brahma Bhuyaya
Kalpate. Bravo. Go ahead, Hina.
Mamchayo Vyabhicharena.
Mamchayo Vyabhicharena.
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Bhakti Yogena Sevate.
Saguna Samityatam.
Sagunan Samatityaitam. Try that word again. Samatityaitam. Samatityaitam.
Sammatityatam.
Yeah. So try the line. Saguna.
Saguna Samyatityatam.
Sagunan Samatityaitam.
Brahma Bhuya Sayaksal Kalpate.
Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. You need a little drilling. We can help. Best thing if you have a partner, you can teach. Like she's getting a little better.
I told you, it's better not say.
All right. Mam unto me, cha also, yaha, a person who, abhyapicharena, without fail, bhakti yogena, by devotional service, sevate, renders service, saha hi gunan, the modes of material nature, samatitya, transcending, etan, all these, Brahma Bhuyaya, elevated to the Brahman platform, kalpate becomes. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Purport. This verse is a reply to Arjuna's third question. What is the means of attaining to the transcendental position? As explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of the modes of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the modes of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as bhakti yoga, always acting for Krishna. This includes not only Krishna, but his different plenary expansions such as Rama and Narayan. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any of the forms of Krishna, or of his plenary expansions, is considered to be transcendentally situated. One should also note that all the forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal. Such personalities of Godhead are omnipotent and omniscient, and they possess all transcendental qualities. So if one engages himself in the service of Krishna or his plenary expansions with unfailing determination, although these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome, one can overcome them easily. This has already been explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto Krishna at once surmounts the influence of the modes of material nature. To be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire equality with Krishna. The Lord says that his nature is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, and the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme, as gold particles are part of a gold mine. Thus the living entity in his spiritual position is as good as gold, as good as Krishna in quality. The difference of individuality continues. Otherwise, there would be no question of bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, and the activity of exchange of love between the Lord and the devotee is there. Therefore, the individuality of two persons is present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual person. Otherwise, there would be no meaning to bhakti yoga. If one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahman, or freed from all material contamination. It is said in the Vedic literature, Brahmaiva san brahmapyeti. One can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. This means that one must qualitatively become one with Brahman. By attainment of Brahman, one does not lose his eternal Brahman identity as an individual soul. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So there's many terms in the Vedic literature, specifically Bhagavad Gita, which really are important to understand if we're going to progress. One of them is Brahman, one of them is Atma, another one is Yoga and Dharma, all of these different meanings. So here the word Brahma is used. This word came up extensively in chapter 5 when we had this phrase Brahma Nirvana. Brahma Nirvana. And Brahma Nirvana is nothing different than Brahma Bhuta. Here it describes as Brahma Bhuyaya, with some grammatical difference, but the same idea. And Brahma Nirvana stresses the state of Brahman realization in which there is not the slightest material tinge. There is no material activity. Nirvana doesn't mean losing one's identity or merging or anything like that. The basic meaning is the absence of any material activity or any material thought. You know, everything is on the Supreme and dedicated toward the Supreme Lord. So here the state is being emphasized, Brahma Bhuta, and that means without a tinge of being affected by the modes of nature, by the lower modes of nature. So, and as explained here, one achieves that state by steady devotional service, by unflinching, pure devotional. We keep hearing these phrases, but here it's very explicit. Unflinching, unfailing devotional service. It means, in yoga terms, not steady remembrance of the Lord. Right? Yoga generally, as in the 6th chapter, emphasizes the thought, where the mind is at, right? Whatever the mind wanders, bring it back under the control of the self. So that's the key first step. But along with the mind, the other senses also have to follow. In order to, like when we meditate, chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We're using the tongue, we're using the ear, using the voice. But the key element is the mind. The whole idea is to hear that, to chant with sincerity and clarity, and then to hear. Yeah.
I heard you can also chant just by mouthing it.
That's another form of chanting under the breath. Yeah. But the thing is, you're meant to hear it in your mind. The sound is supposed to be going on, but in the mind, because that's where you really hear. The whole idea is, there's no hard and fast rule, but Prabhupada wants us to chant loudly because he's afraid we'll fall asleep. And Haridas Thakur said that the chanting loudly is better because you can bless others. He was always outside, so you have all the trees and you have the animals and you have the other human beings, of course. So in that sense, the chanting is loudly is nice, both in kirtan and japa, especially kirtan. So the idea here is that, as Prabhupada mentions, is very systematic. Arjuna wanted to know, having learned, a little summary lesson of what the modes of nature are, what their influence is, what the symptoms or characteristics of one in different modes are. Then Krishna said, one who has transcended the modes. What does he say before Arjuna asks his question? Text 20. When the embodied being is able to transcend these 3 modes associated with material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and then can enjoy nectar even in this life. That's pretty much an inducement, right? Let's see if we can do it. So Arjuna then, on our behalf, he asks, well, what are the qualities of someone who's transcended? What are the activities of someone who's transcended? And how can I get to that state? How can one achieve it? It's very logical. If you're interested in a certain path or a certain goal of transformation, right? You want to know, well, what is that person like? What are their qualities? Like a great musician, Well, what do they look like? What do they sound like? And how can I get that way, right? So that's exactly what Krishna does. The 4 verses from 22 to 25 describe the qualities and the activities, and now this all-important verse of how anyone can attain that. So we come back again to the theme of Bhagavad Gita, which is devotional service. And notice the use of the word bhakti yoga. The other thing about the yoga part, it means linking all of your facilities. It's very simple. It's very scientific. Because we're not just the mind, This is the problem with Ashtanga yoga, meditative yoga. If you're just working with the mind, then what do I do? In other words, it's artificial to just go off and alone somewhere, and just wrestle with the mind. It's not practical in this age. For very few it may be possible. And in previous ages it was a common thing. Each yuga has its own dharma, the yuga dharma. But in this age, we don't live very long, our bodies are not very strong, our minds are always distracted, we're misguided, we're upset. What are we going to do? Harinam Sankirtan. Notice the scientific element of dancing and chanting. I always stress the dancing part. There's a great emphasis on sitting and chanting, which is fine, but that's ultimately, that's kirtan. It's not Sankirtan. Sankirtan, as it is in the total Sankirtan, is the dancing and the chanting. Dancing is important. Read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You read about, kirtan. But what's involved? Well, certainly your ears are involved, your voice is involved, right? Your mind is involved. But then if you're dancing, your whole body is involved. Because let's face it, that's also a weight, that's a distraction, the other senses. So when everything is involved in that, then practically the mind has to think of Krishna. That's what we want. We want the mind forcibly. And so it's a perfect example here. We can get an experience of that transcending the modes by getting absorbed in Sankirtan, or any service, but that's the main one. But it's not avyabhichari. That's the thing. We don't want it on the floor because there's holy words on here. Isn't there? Are there any holy words on here? Maybe not. Okay. You can put it on the floor, but recommended not to. I had another set that had sample verses, but that's all right. Generally don't put things on the floor. So, this is a reply, the method. Always acting for Krishna. And then Prabhupada makes the point, Krishna has expansions. Those who are Ram Bhaktas, and there are millions in India, right? If they're really pure, they're also transcendental. The whole idea is that Krishna's like the sun. He's not just some kind of a figure, but he's energetic. He's a person. And if you walk out into the sun, that's not a neutral act. The sun is going to act on you. You don't want to stay out too long. But if you have some sun, it'll be very healthy for you, right? Just coming into the sun. So thinking of Krishna and connecting the senses to Krishna and the intelligence, by thinking of ways to serve Krishna better and all kinds of ways, then Krishna's influence on you, it affects you. And the first thing is you begin to attain the quality of Krishna. Well, let's say it like this. Those things in our being which are covering our original spiritual quality start to get purified, burned off, as it will. If you put something dirty in the sun, it'll evaporate and get clean. So that's what it means to be in Krishna consciousness, is that the purification is taking place. And your original spiritual nature is becoming realized. That's why Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, says to Sanatana Goswami, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Kodaye Udoy. Very nice verse. Nitya Siddha, eternal perfection, of Krishna Prema. This is the goal of our hope, love of Krishna. Sadhya Kabunoi. Sadhya in this context means something that is artificial, that you try to gain or bring from outside. Okay? We do that all the time in our material life. That's called the upadis. Remember I told you about the upadis, the things that the designations you put on yourself, so anything material is artificial because we're spiritual. So this says it's not artificial. This is actually intrinsic to the soul. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabul Noy, it's not, artificial. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte, by the process of hearing, etc. So after hearing comes chanting, and then there's the other 9 processes, but just those 2 say. So by hearing and chanting, Shuddha Chitte, the consciousness becomes purified. And Karehe Udoy. Udoy means it rises, just like the sun. That eternal perfection of Krishna Prem just becomes manifest in your heart. And that's why it feels so natural. When you're really in Krishna kindness, it's natural. You're not hankering for something. All right, now I've done this for a while. That's the modes of nature working. If you're really practicing, you think that there's nothing else I want to do, there's nothing else I need to do. This is actual faith. This is firm faith. When you get to the point of being completely convinced that Krishna is God, we're His servant, and the process of knowing His Krishna Bhakti, and that's a very important place to be at. So because it's visceral, in other words, it's realized knowledge. So that's what's being described here. By being in bhakti, by engaging in bhakti yoga without flinching, without unfailing, one completely transcends the gunas, which are goodness, passion, ignorance, and comes to the stage of Brahma Bhuta. Now, this verse naturally is paired up with the text number 1854. Let's check that one out right now. 1854. Also talks about Brahma Bhuta. You got it? It's on most of your books, 694?
700
Or you have 700? And?
700, just 700.
700. Either 694 or 700. So let's chant this one. Now we're getting expert in our chanting. Brahma Bhuta Pasannatma
Brahma-bhuta prasanatma
Nashochati Nakankshati
Nashoti nakankshati
Samak Sarveshu Bhuteshu
Samasarveshu bhuteshu
Madbhaktim Labate Param.
Madbhakti labhate param.
Okay, so now he begins with Brahma Bhuta. The other verse ended with Brahma Bhuta. So now he begins. And in previous verses he describes the state of how you get to that platform. But one who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. That's prasan atma. Nashochati nakanshi. He never laments or desires to have anything. He's equally disposed toward every living entity, and in that state he attains pure devotional service unto me. Mad bhaktim labate param. Now long ago, I tried to figure out the seeming contradiction here. Because the other verse begins with bhakti, right? Mamchi yoga vichara bhakti yoga. Then you come to Brahma Bhuta. So this verse says, you come to Brahma Bhuta, and at the end you get bhakti. So which comes first? Is it the Brahma Bhuta or the bhakti? What's the puzzle? What's the answer to the puzzle? Can anyone understand? I'll tell you. The answer to the puzzle is this, that the text 26 of chapter 14 is talking about the practice of bhakti yoga. Let's see. Yes. He uses the phrase bhakti yoga. In this case it means the practice of bhakti, sadhana bhakti. There's sadhana bhakti and there's bhava bhakti. Okay? In other words, the natural state, our natural state is serving Krishna in ecstasy. It's not a practice anymore. It's not some discipline. Because discipline means sometimes you have to do things you don't want, you have to give up things you want. Right? But bhava bhakti means you want. All you want to do is serve Krishna, you see, because it's natural. So that's what he's speaking about in text 54. It doesn't say bhakti yoga here. It says mad bhaktim, period, you see, in 1854. But text 26 says bhakti yoga nisevate. So practicing bhakti yoga, sadhana bhakti, vaidhi bhakti, this phrase vaidhi bhakti, who can analyze what that means? Anyone know? Vaidhi or vidhi bhakti. Yeah.
Vidhi means like
Rules and regulations.
yeah.
Yeah. So following rules and regulations, this is called sadhana, practice, discipline, you see? So that's what is spoken of here in text 26. One who follows the practice of bhakti yoga, according, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, following carefully, then, without fail, then he transcends the modes and comes to the state of Brahmabhutya. In other words, transcendental state. And in that state, as Prabhupada mentions, then you can really begin serving Krishna. So he's referring to text 854. You see? If you're in a Brahmabhuta state, which is characterized by natural joyfulness, wouldn't you like to be in that state? Always be happy? You know, this is sthai bhava. You know? And so on that places of sthai bhava, there's sometimes extreme ecstasy, there's high points, and then you come back down to the always blissful state. Nowadays, we're like more or less miserable, and eventually a little bit we get a high point, we're like, okay, and then I'm back again to our mode of anxiety. That's material life. Dukkhalayam, as Krishna said. So here he's saying, no shotati na kankshati. This is no lamenting and no hankering for anything material. Imagine, you lose a loved one. Okay, it's a big bad, but you don't lament, you don't, rending of clothes, and you're not completely thrown for a loop. That's the whole point here in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is about to not only lose some beloveds, but be instrumental in killing them. And on the material plane, this is terrible. Forget it. I'm leaving the battlefield. I'm not going to do it. But he's come to the point by the end. He's totally Brahmabhuta. He says, Kadashe Vachanantava. I will do as you say, Krishna. Meaning he's not going to lament. He's on a total transcendental platform. And kankshati. These are two sides of the same coin. Is an ardent desire for material things. And it's moving this world. Beginning with sex desire. Moving, pushing. So here it says, Nashojati Nakanchati. One is samak sarveshu, is equipoise to everybody. And friends and enemies, remember the verses before, 26? Tulya. Situated equally in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, treats alike, friend and enemy. This is the category we just read in the previous verses, in the 14th chapter. So that's what samak sarveshu bhuteshu, sees everyone equally. And in that state, mad bhaktim labhate param, one attains the transcendental state of real bhakti to me. Not bhakti yoga by vidhi bhakti, but bhava bhakti, prema bhakti. So there are two different kinds of bhakti here. So we're practicing sadhana bhakti, and we're nicely situated, but we should aspire to come to the state of spontaneous devotion. So in that transcendental plane, then we can serve Krishna. This idea of equality, meaning that we're on the spiritual plane with Krishna. Yeah, Prabhupada mentions that. Okay. Any questions on this verse? Very important verse. Yes, Prabhu.
So, you mentioned in the beginning of the lecture, and Prabhupada mentions it at the end of his purport about how one can attain the supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. And, there's Brahman, then there's Brahman, Brahma. And so I was wondering if you can elaborate further on how can we distinguish the supreme Brahman, like the supreme teacher?
Okay, so first of all, Brahma.
And another thing is, like in another purport, he mentions this verse, and he mentions, instead of translated as Brahman, he uses spiritual platform.
Yeah, Brahmabhuta, spiritual platform. The word Brahma is used to mean different things in different contexts. At the beginning of this chapter, I don't know if you remember, Sarva yoni shukuntaya murti eksambhavatasam brahma mahalyonir aham bija pradakpita. Krishna is saying this famous phrase, aham bija pradakpita, I am the seed-giving father for everybody, every living entity in the universe. So he's saying, Sarva yonishu, all the species, murti eksambhavandaya, they get their bodies, they come into being. Tasam Brahma Mahadyonir. In this case, Brahma means the great material energy. See, Brahma generically just means the great thing, something super great. Mostly it means spirit, which is the greatest thing. But when we talk about Supreme Brahman, or Para Brahman, the same idea, that's the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, generally Brahman alone will be spirit, or the Brahmajyoti, this effulgence. Those are the general meanings. We are also Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. This is one of these Upanishadic phrases. I am spirit, meaning I'm not matter. This is a big thing because we all identify with the material body in the material world. So it depends on the context. Brahma, why is he called Brahma? Because he's the great one. His body is the size of the universe. It's made up mostly of intelligence. I mean, it's an amazing personality. But he's also mortal. Because he has a material body, even though it's mostly very fine, intelligence is the finest, he eventually dies after, countless trillions of years. So that's, that Brahma, long A at the end. You see. But the real thing you need to distinguish is Brahman in general and Supreme Brahman or Para Brahman. Whenever you see Supreme Brahman, that's, Prabhu, I don't know if this is Prabhu's own phrase that he gave, but I think it's a translation of Para Brahman. See, that you get in the 10th chapter. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. There's only one Supreme Brahman, just like there's only one Supreme Controller. There's many Ishwaras, but one Parameshwar. One Supreme Ishwar, that's Krishna. But we're also little Ishwaras. So, but when you have Brahman paired with Paramatma and Bhagavan, then in that context, it means the white light, the first stage of God realization. That where we find in the second chapter, first canto, Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdyate. That the ultimate truth, known as the non-dual knowledge or consciousness, is said by those who know, Vadanti tas tattva vidas, tattva means they know the truth, to be these three phases, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Now that doesn't mean that Bhagavan is not Brahman, because he's Para-Brahman, you understand? So it gets a little confusing. But in the context of that, Brahman there means just the undifferentiated light, the effulgence of Krishna's body, for the bhaktas, you understand? Yasya prabha prabhavato. That's the effulgence. But for those who don't want the personal relationship, and who approach the Supreme by the basis of jnana or personal discipline, this is what they can realize. They can't realize the personality because they don't want that relationship. So they merge into the Brahman. But it's an unsteady platform, and eventually they come down. And then the example is, you can use the sun, right? One way of understanding sun is sunlight. That's a preliminary understanding. If we're sitting here, as we do every morning, and suddenly the windows get lighter and lighter and lighter, and the sky gets lighter and lighter, we know, oh, the sun is up. We haven't seen the sun directly, but the effulgence of the sun lets us know. So in that sense, we know the sun. But if we really want to get more knowledge, then we have to go outside and look at the sun. Right? Okay, there's localized, that's the Paramatma. But if we want the complete knowledge of the sun, we have to go to the sun and meet the sun god. Right? So we know that they're a person. So that's Bhagavan realization. So now in the next verse, Krishna will expand on this meaning of Brahman. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you for I had a question about, you mentioned how the Ashtanga yogi tries to artificially control the mind by various austerities. The devotee just mainly focuses on chanting and trying to hear within his mind. And so I just know, like, within my realm of association, brahmacharis sometimes they can, which is it is true, but like sometimes I see like brahmacharis are kind of take the position of like living austerely, and instead of like engaging something in, like, let's just say eating, for example, or like they instead of just eating on a regular basis, a regulated schedule, they refrain from eating like nice foods, or like or just eating in general, sometimes just fasting, and in this way they try to fix their minds on Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the other side. There's the other devotees who just engage the senses on regulated activities of eating at certain times, diet. So I was just thinking, is it black and white, or is there one recommendation?
It's not black and white. Generally, it's always best to refer to the Shastra. And so we have in the 6th chapter, Yukta hara viharasa, yukta chesasya karmasu, yukta supta bhavorasa, yoga bhavati dukkha. That yukta in this case means moderate. Yukta ahara viharasa means that moderate eating, moderate recreation, and not sleeping too much, not sleeping too little. Because what happens is that, and this is mentioned in Nectar Devotion, you take on too much. You think, okay, Prabhu gives the example, I'm going to chant 64 rounds a day. So maybe you do it one day, but then you have a big feast, and the next day you can't get up early. You can't get up at 12:30 like you did the day before, and so, oh no, I can't do my 64 rounds, and you're in anxiety. So you've taken on too much, and the mind rebels. See, the mind has to be brought along slowly, because if you take too much on, then the mind may rebel and you against the whole process. You see? Or I can't do it. Or the intelligence tricks you. Well, there's no way I can go on like this. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy the senses, and when I burn them out, then I'll come back. Or I'll get really kicked. Krishna will kick me so hard that then I'll just come back and I'll be really convinced. I haven't experienced the horror of the material world enough. These are all excuses, for leaving the temple. And but the problem is, as we've learned in this chapter, that the modes of nature will cover your knowledge. If you get into the mode of passion, or ignorance, say, you'll forget all about Krishna consciousness. It'll be like a dream. You see? Haven't we experienced like material life is like a dream now? If you really get into the routine of Krishna consciousness, we know it is unreal, is that it's self-defeating, right? But how do we know that? We know that from the platform of experiencing a little taste of this Brahmabhuta platform, where you can see things as they are. How many times did Krishna has to tell us this is the reality? So we can't be so confident in our own remembrance and our own knowledge or our own willpower. That's why the devotees have a great advantage over those like the yogis or the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, because they're relying on their own effort. They may think, yeah, I've got it together. I know, that sense gratification is ridiculous. So I'm going to minimize my eating, and I'm not going to ever talk to a woman. Forget it. And this is Mayavad. Try tyag. Away means like don't even show me. Or if I'm no more city, I'm going out to the mountain. This is generally the impersonal. Why? They don't have the advantage of all of the faith in the reality of Krishna and the beauty of the holy name. How can you pray if you don't believe there's anyone at the other end? You see? But you have to chant prayerfully. See, that's much more effective meditation than just wrestling with the mind to keep it on some artificial thing. You may do that for a while because we have the power to concentrate. But isn't it much better to naturally concentrate on something you love, or feel the need to appeal to Krishna to save you, right? Which we should feel at every moment. Otherwise, what is the meaning of Trinadapi Suni Chaina? Right? Feel more humble than a blade of grass. It means I'm dependent. I can get crushed at any moment, right? We're just lying on the ground. So Krishna, save me. At every moment to call out to Krishna to save you. That's deep meditation. Right? If we're drowning in the ocean and a helicopter starts wheeling around, we're going to be focused on that helicopter like nobody's business. Over here, hello, isn't it? That necessity. So we should feel like that at every moment. That's there's a verse. There's so many verses. These verses are great. They're great expressions, from the great acharyas. Like King Kulashekar. He has this book called Mukundamala Stotra. Prabhupada started translating it before the Bhagavatam. He did about 11, 12 verses, beautiful purports. I highly recommend it. It's in the database. Where else? I think we have it. It's a hard copy in the bookstore. So one of the verses, there's so many beautiful ones. This struck me. Andasya me, he's praying. Andasya me dita viveka mahadanasya chaurai pabo balabad indriya nama dehai mohanda kupa guhadeva nipatatasya devesh dehi kapanasya karavalambam. You know it? You've heard it before? So, andhasya me, rita viveka mahadanasya. So Chauraipabo, Balabir Indian. So he says the thieves of my senses, you know, very strong thieves of my senses. Chauraipabo, Indriya Nama, they call it Indriya Nama. They've stolen away my treasure, which is my discrimination. Okay, Viveka, Mahadana, my great treasure of Viveka. And they've thrown me down into this blind well. They've blinded me and thrown me down into the deep well of material life. Andasime Rita Viveka, still stolen away, Rita Viveka Mahadanasya, Chauraipaba, O Lord, Balabir Indriya Nama Dehai, Mohandakupa Kuhare. Mohandakupa Kuhare means this deep dark well of extreme blindness and illusion. Moha Andhakupa, under the blind. Many partatasya. They've thrown me down. So isn't that, you know, it's just like that, right? So then the last line, Devesha Dehi Kripanasya Kadabalama. Oh Lord of the gods, Devesha, in other words, most supreme personality. Dehi Kripanasya Kadabalam. Please give me your hand as a shelter and pull me out, you know, for this wretched soul, Kripanasya, like this Kripana. Beautiful prayer. Now, the Mayavadis can't chant like that. The materialists can't chant like that. They don't believe. Only the bhaktas can have that kind of focus, you know, deep, you know, this is how we should chant Hare Krishna. And if you're always calling out to the Lord in that way, you know, trying to serve Him and glorify Him and do things, serve His devotees, and, you know, with that feeling of desperation or eagerness, you know, then you're connected like anything. And Krishna responds because He's a person. He doesn't respond to the impersonalists. He responds to those who feel dependent on Him. So this is why bhakti is universal, because we all experience that to some degree in even our ordinary life. Sometimes we're helpless, we feel like, you know, children, we're in trouble, you know, and you're looking for, you know, I mean, it's a natural emotion, you know. So, all right, shall we do this last verse? Let's do this. We can also do it again tomorrow. What the day is? Oh, not tomorrow. Monday. Okay. All right, let's do this last one. Now this again, he's talking about Brahman. But now this key verse, the Brahman depends on me. I am supporting Brahman. I'm supreme. Yeah. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Amitasya vyayasya cha. Shashvatasya cha dharmasya. Sukhasya kantikasya cha. All right, let's take a minute to take this verse apart so we can know what we're doing. So he spoke about Brahma Bhuya, and now he's speaking about Brahma again, Brahmana. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti, okay? He pratishta aham. Pratishta is the rest, or the place where something is situated. Aham, I am the basis. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Very important statement. And now he describes what is that Brahman. Amritasya abhyayasya cha. This word abhyaya is the most common word used in the Gita. And it means imperishable, never decreases. And amrita, immortal. It's the basis of immortality and is imperishable. Shashvatasya, eternal. Dharmasya, of the constitutional position of the living entity. And sukhasya, aikantikasya cha, the basis of ultimate happiness. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Purport: the constitution of Brahman is immortality, imperishability, eternity, and happiness. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramatma, the Supersoul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the Absolute Truth. Therefore, both Paramatma and the impersonal Brahman are within the Supreme Person. It is explained in the 7th chapter that material nature is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. Excuse me. The Lord impregnates the inferior material nature with fragments of the superior nature, and that is the spiritual touch in the material nature. When a living entity, excuse me, when a living entity conditioned by this material nature begins the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, he elevates himself from the position of material existence and gradually rises up to the Brahman conception of the Supreme. This attainment of the Brahman conception of life is the first stage in self-realization. At this stage, the Brahman realized person is transcendental to the material position, but he is not actually perfect in Brahman realization. If he wants, he can continue to stay in the Brahman position and then gradually rise up to the Paramatma realization and then to the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of this in Vedic literature. The four Kumaras were situated first in the impersonal Brahman conception of the truth, but then they gradually rose to the platform of devotional service. One who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs the risk of falling down. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that although a person may rise to the stage of impersonal Brahman without going further with no information of the Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. Therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there is the chance of falling down if one is not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, it is also said, now this I quoted this morning, I think. Did I give class this morning? I'm trying to think all these classes. Raso Vaisa, does this ring a bell? Raso Vaisa. Rasam Yevayam Nabdvanandi Bhavati. I may have quoted last night. When one understands the personality of God as the reservoir of pleasure of Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. Taittiriya Upanishad 271. The Supreme Lord is full in 6 opulences. And when a devotee approaches him, there is an exchange of these 6 opulences. The servant of the king enjoys on an almost equal level with the king. And so eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, and eternal life accompany devotional service. Therefore, realization of Brahman or eternity or imperishability is included in devotional service. This is already possessed by a person who is engaged in devotional service. The living entity, although Brahman by nature, has the desire to lord it over the material world, and due to this he falls down. In his constitutional position, a living entity is above the 3 modes of material nature, but association with material nature entangles him in the different modes of material nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. Time out. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Due to the association of these 3 modes, his desire to dominate the material world is there. By engagement in devotional service and full Krishna consciousness, he is immediately situated in the transcendental position, and his unlawful desire to control material nature is removed. Therefore, the process of devotional service, beginning with hearing, chanting, remembering, the prescribed 9 methods for realizing devotional service, should be practiced in the association of devotees. Gradually, by such association, by the influence of the spiritual master, one's material desire to dominate is removed, and one becomes firmly situated in the Lord's transcendental loving service. This method is prescribed from the 22nd to the last verse of this chapter. Devotional service to the Lord is very simple. One should always engage in the service of the Lord, should eat the remnants of foodstuffs offered to the deity, smell the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, see the places where the Lord had his transcendental pastimes, read of the different activities of the Lord, his reciprocation of love with his devotees, chant always the transcendental vibration, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and observe the fasting days commemorating the appearances and disappearances of the Lord and his devotees. By following such a process, one becomes completely detached from all material activities. One who can thus situate himself in the Brahma Jyoti or the different varieties of the Brahman conception is equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the 3 modes of material nature. Hare Krishna. So we'll begin chapter 15 on Monday. And just a quick review of this chapter, we can do that now. Krishna began by saying that he's the father of everything, he's controlling everything. I will again tell you the supreme wisdom, the best of knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained the supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Then he describes this material energy as like a big womb in which he impregnates all the living beings, And it's so big that it's called Brahma, Mahabrahma. And then this famous verse 4, this is like one of the main memorizable verses in this chapter. I'm the seed-giving father of everyone. And then he starts describing the modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, what their qualities are, what their effects are, and what the destination is of one who's in the different modes. So you can review that on your own. Prabhupada often says that the mode of ignorance is very dangerous. It's very dangerous because, as it says, darkness. Tamas means darkness. Is that you completely lose the ability to understand any higher knowledge. It's a very deep, dark covering. So we should be careful not to cultivate that. Because it's prominent in this age. Intoxication, yielding to the temptation of anger. Anger is also the mode of ignorance where it just covers you. You do things that what have I done? You lose your intelligence. So, but the mode of passion can be purified in the mode of goodness. You get someone who's in the mode of passion, likes to do things. Okay, well, come on, help build the cart. Can you help clean the temple? Okay, sure. And before you know it, their activity is being used in Krishna's service. So that can be transcendentalized. But mode of ignorance is very difficult. If someone is very sleepy, intoxicated, wake up! So don't allow that mode to get... and madness, madness becomes a problem. So we should know what the symptoms are. Greed results from too much mode of passion. So then he goes on describing the different destinations. Text 18 is another important one. Urdhvam gachanti sattvasta. Those situated in the mode of goodness go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion, after death, they live on the earthly planets. And those in the abominable mode go down to the hellish worlds. So we don't want to get into that. And then 20, Krishna talks about transcending, and that's what we've been describing the last few days. What are the symptoms, what are the activities, and what are the method of transcending the modes. And so it's an important verse. And then Prabhupada referred to one. We can't leave this chapter without referring back to the 7th chapter, text 14. Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya doratteya mame viye papadyante maya me tantalantite. Prabhupada referred to that in text 26, I think, purple. So that's exactly, the same idea. Krishna says this divine energy of mine consisting of the 3 modes. Why is it divine? Because it's connected to me. Daivesha guname mama maya, my maya. Duratteya means impossible to cross over on our own. You can't, even if you know that you're entangled, we're bound hand and foot. And Prabhupada talks about how guna can also mean rope. So in order to get untied, if you're tied up, it has to be from someone who's not tied. That's the spiritual master, someone who's transcendental already. He can free you with the instructions and the help. So, so then Krishna continues, but one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that surrender is mam jiyova vicharena. That's text 26. Unfailingly practicing devotional service, situated on Brahma Bhuta, then you transcend and begin to really experience the higher levels of bhakti, devotional service. So that's our little talk for tonight. It's been a little marathon, now an hour and 15 minutes. I need to loosen my legs a little bit. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Why I was laughing to you that time you said you heard me go, that was the way you were this.
I don't know what you're saying. You're smiling. You must be saying something nice.
And you say, oh, you laughing, you heard this verse before. I never heard, but the way you were speaking, you just feel like, we are not here. You're going to learn it. You're going to chant these verses. My secret ambition of all of this is that I'll get you guys chanting shlokas so that I can hear some more, because now I'm just here. There's a whole ocean out there of verses. And they completely help fix your mind on Krishna. So that's why I gave these sheets out. And you can start memorizing verses. No excuses here. Of course. Yes, you can keep it.
Something quite interesting. A couple of words are just the Sanskrit word if you chant it perfectly, then there's a certain effect that comes with it.
Yes. Oops, I turned this off. Yes, the Sanskrit language.
No, it's okay. You just carry it, then you take it off. I'm like you now.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Sachari Shatari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Jai Mr. Prabhu, Paramahansa Bhagavadgitacharya, Ashtotter to the Sri Srimad's Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Mr. Prabhu, Paramahansa Bhagavadgitacharya, Ashtotter to the Sri Srimad's Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Praise to Holy Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavan Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakant Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai. Jagannath Swami ki Jai. Ganga Mahi ki Jai. Sharana Mahi ki Jai. Tulsi Devi ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Transcendental Distribution ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to the Assembly devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Brahma. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Valara Larandayene. Hiranyakashipo Vakshaha. Shilatanka Nakalaye. Uto Shinga Parato Shingo. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishinga. Nrsimhamading Sharanam Prapadye Navakara Kamanamare Nakam Amrita Shinga Sarita Hiranyakashipu Tanum Bringa Keshavadgita Kalahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Navakara Kamanamare Amrita Shinga Navakara Kamanavare Nakamabhita Shinga Darita Hiranyakashipu Tanum Bringa Keshavadgita Kalahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Navakara Kamalavare Nakamabhita Shinga Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadgita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadgita Jai Nrsimhadev, 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 Jai Nrsimhadev. Jai Nrsimhadev, 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 Jai Nrsimhadev. Jaya Narahari, 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 Jaya Narahari. Jaya Narahari, 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 Jaya Narahari. Sringa Bhagavan ki jai, Pradhanaraj ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Devotees are hungry. There's a lot of
prasad. Just the top order.
And will we make
Will we also do that?
yeah, pizza?
That's the kind of a pizza. With the biggest crust in the world. There it is. There's the cake. Like birthday